Jerod, hello, good evening. What are we on, minute 8?
You and I are. You and I are on minute 8. Everyone else might be somewhere else in the film. Who knows?
We're going to need you guys to sync up. This podcast is most effective if you're watching the same minute we are.
Synchronizing watches is something that I thought I would do more of as an adult.
I've never had to synchronize a watch.
Like, I didn't think that I would be doing that daily, but I thought I would have more of those encounters than I certainly do.
Where did we first hear that need, that gentlemen synchronize your watches?
My best guess would be some sort of James Bond story.
It's a weird trope. It's a weird thing to have come up in so many different media that we took in as kids. I guess we have cell phones now. Like, our watches literally are synchronized.
True.
We don't have to.
I'd like to set our current clock to minute 8.
Of Home Alone.
Right. Starting at 7:00, going to 8:00.
Right. At 7:00, we're still looking at old man Marley. He's sort of done looking up ominously at the McAllisters and kind of getting back to his business.
He's like, okay, I frightened them.
The scary John Williams Christmas music is going to cut off soon. And we're going to see the pizza guy show up. We're going to see a Harry talking to the kids. And we're going to see the pizza boy come in. And that's it. Right?
Yes.
That's what happens in this minute.
I would say this minute is kind of an even split in half, I think, as far as a scene goes, because the first half of this minute is very much following the pizza journey. And then the second half is kind of cutting to inside, where the yet unnamed police officer is talking to Brooke and Fuller. Or more talking at them, I suppose.
They are not talking to him, for sure.
So, if we can go a little bit into the details of Little Nero's Pizza.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed their tagline. Do you recall the tagline on the top of the car?
On the top of the car. Ooh. I just watched it so many times.
Because on the side of the car, they had what I just
20 minutes or less, or you don't pay, I think is the language that they use.
Yes.
But up at the top, there's some like Nero specific, like slogan. And it's escaping me now. Jerod, please end my suffering.
No fiddling around.
That's right. No fiddling around.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
So that works really well.
That is a tagline straight from the 1st century AD.
So I'll nominate an unsung hero. We don't even know who it is, but whoever came up with that.
So good.
So very good. It also works as a nice Little Caesars parody.
I think that's the surface layer gag, that Little Nero's is supposed to be Little Caesars. But that tagline, so good. But you're right. They kind of do the 20 minutes or less, or you don't pay, which I wouldn't say is a trope as much as it is a like truism of the time, because wise man say, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
I mean, that was the Domino's policy for a while. Or was it you didn't get the free pizza? You got like $3 off or something. You
got money off. That was at least in Turtles, which was around the same time. It was like, pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
But I remember that being,
and it was
the real policy of Domino's Pizza too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got $3 off. So instead of it being 13, it was 10, because that's what Mikey hands up through the grate. He's like, hey, this is a 10, tabs 13. And that's when he goes into his quoting of some wise man somewhere.
Jerod, please save that for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie minute.
TMNTM.
But yeah, that killed somebody, right? Well, there was a pizza delivery guy who I don't think that this is just some sort of folklore. Like I think
Yeah, it does sound urban legendy.
Yeah, but I think there was a guy who actually
might be real.
died, and they're like, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea to have 17-year-old boys racing across town with hot pizzas riding shotgun, and they're going to lose out on $3 in their tip if they hit a little traffic.
Yeah, it really puts pressure and incentives in the wrong place. But this kind of dates the movie in a way more specific way.
It really does. Now we order Uber Eats, and if it says it's going to take an hour and 10 minutes, we just shrug our shoulders and go, okay, sounds about right. When you used to be able to get a whole ass pizza to your house in a half hour. Friday night, they get it to you in a half hour. No problem. Full House and Family Matter block. Peak pizza time.
I'm certain that Douglas Rushkoff has thought about this and has a whole like futurism take on why that is not only a longer wait, but we don't care.
We have just accepted it. Another stamp of the early 90s that I don't think exists for any of the major pizza chains, and maybe you know better, but the Pizza Boy has a matching jacket. He's got a uniform. He's got a hat and a jacket.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time a Pizza Boy had like a uniform on.
It's rare to see people in any job that's customer facing with a uniform beyond maybe a t-shirt.
Isn't that? It's a good thing. I would argue that's a very good thing. But you go to Target and it's just some kid in a David Bowie t-shirt and maybe a red vest on, maybe a name tag.
Well, it's turnover, right? It's how fluid it is.
Nobody wants to work anymore, Jerod.
In universe, I bet that pizza dude has been there for over a year.
Is that just a product of the times? Like he used to be able to, I think he's got 4 kids at home and he's paying his mortgage with his pizza delivery money.
He does not have children.
No, he's almost a child. I mean, he really comes flying around that corner.
Well, again, 20 minutes. Like that's 10 fewer minutes than even Domino's had. And as you said, that killed a guy.
Yeah, he's got to do it in 2/3 of the time.
Yeah.
So he's flying.
66% of the time.
It's winter. It's icy. It makes sense that he would crash into that statue. Sets up a nice running gag for the rest of the movie.
Which I love.
Can we talk about the price of those pizzas?
Let's. It's 10 pizzas times $12.
$122.50.
Yep.
The price of pizza has not changed too much since then.
Well, I think the real world counterpart, Little Caesars, has something to do with that because they did essentially pizza at cost with their hot and ready. So the introduction of all of these other chains, and it wasn't just the big pizza guys anymore, means that you've got all these weird deals that all the big guys have to do to come back and make that kind of money, right? So Little Caesars does a pizza at cost, hoping, praying that you'll buy a 2-liter for 5 times more than what it costs.
The real profits in the crazy bread. In the Home Alone cinematic universe, do you see Little Nero's Pizza as a parallel of like Little Caesars, Domino's, Pizza Hut? Or do you see them as sort of the local pizza place?
I saw it more as the local place. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because the branding isn't great. Because the branding is consistent and artistic, but it doesn't scream corporate.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think maybe also It's partially still true to this day. I mean, the pizza that we get is like from our local neighborhood pizza place. But 1990, that was probably more the case. Probably a few more mom and pop shops around that you would call in.
Oh, yeah. Especially Chicago. There's plenty of places that are not corporate pizza.
$122.50 for 10 pizzas. I mean, even if you go mom and pop, like it's not too much more money these days. The price of a pizza has stayed about the same since 1990.
For a large pizza? Those were large pies.
They look large. I looked it up. A large pizza at my local pizza shop is about $18. So a 50% increase in 30 years.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Because you're not getting an improved pizza, right? So the operational cost and all of that would have gotten easier. Their operations would have been optimized. But you factor in inflation, that means the cost goes up.
They don't have to buy those jackets anymore. They can take an hour and a half to deliver 10 pizzas if they want to now. Can you imagine if you ordered 10 pizzas?
I would be so anxious about that I would pre-order it. I would have to order it a day before and be like, I'm so sorry. Because I just don't think they'd show up.
They would be like, 10 pizzas? 10?
They'd be like, this isn't a real order.
We thought you were kidding.
We thought this was a test order for the iPad.
That did happen to me when I was a kid. My uncle was out of town, and he invited me to sort of house sit for the night, spend the night at his house, home alone. And my dad gave me some money to order a pizza. This was maybe like 8th grade, something like that.
So 10 years ago.
And I called Domino's, and I'm such an 8th grader about it, trying to hold it together. But as soon as they asked me for the address, and I realized I didn't know my uncle's address. I didn't know what house I was at. So I said, I don't know. And it took me quite a while to sort of like find some mail with the address on it. And then my pizza never showed up. And I called them back. And they're like, oh, we thought you were a joke. And eventually I did get my pizza, but it took a while because I was so inept and bad at talking to people on the phone.
Well, and that's on the honor system, right? Today, you place that order, you've paid for it. Your card has been authorized. It's paid. And there's a lower chance of you receiving 10 pizzas.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But what a great smash cut. And by that, I don't mean film lingo, smash cut. I mean smash, comma, cut. Go straight from knocking over the statue into the gaping maws of 2 8-year-olds.
Fuller's younger than Kevin, though, right?
Right? He's 7?
Yeah, he's 6 or 7. And Brooke's probably younger, right?
Are they supposed to be twins?
Oh, are they? That might be true. But either way, yes. Great cut to them. Just staring up, slack-jawed.
You kind of see Harry go from frustrated to feeling insane. Because he's already had his fancy orphanage moment. Where he's just like, okay, nobody lives here. Okay, what's this? And now he's just riffing against 2 mute children.
He's almost sort of given up. It's like he's going to live here now.
Well, you can kind of see in his disposition his desire to go back to when people were at least giving him answers, albeit confusing ones. Because now he's like, oh, I didn't know what I had when people were at least responding to me.
He's met his match finally, right? Like all these other people at least had the decency to give him some sort of smart aleck brush off. But here, Fuller and Brooke just stare at him.
And I do remember watching this as a kid and not being 100% sure what was going on there. Like, In my experience, if you were that like bothered and afraid of an adult figure, you wouldn't be like standing in front of them.
You're not obscenely wealthy.
But I think this is beyond that, right? Like the kid who goes and hides behind his dad's leg, you know?
Yeah, that's what would be more natural for me too. It's less funny though.
Sure.
Jerod, have you seen the meme that went around the internet? Just a couple of months ago, I guess last Christmas season.
Ooh, if it's that recent, I won't be seeing it for another few months.
You're not on the internet too often. Let me just send you this real quick. Someone decided to make one of those, like, you remember this person from this. Well, here's what they look like now kind of things for Brooke McAllister.
Is that real?
So this was claiming to be Anna Slotky. Is that her name? Plays Brooke McAllister. And she's all grown up now.
Is that real?
And she's not wearing a lot of clothes anymore. But it turns out that it's fake.
Now, there are two ways I hear fake. Is it that that's not a real woman, or that is a real woman who is not what Brooke grew up to be?
I did a little bit of digging. I didn't care beyond it's just not her. But it does seem to be just an AI-generated photograph of a scantily clad lady.
Well, good for AI.
Yeah. But, if you put a picture of Brooke McAllister in this scene and just put a picture of some lady in a bathing suit right next to her, you just automatically assume, even in today's world, that you're looking at a picture of the same person. But apparently no.
Is that like a visual version of fan fiction?
It's weird. Like, why would you do that?
For clicks, I assume.
Yeah, I guess. But it's a weird. Are enough people asking, like, what happened to Brooke McAllister from Home Alone? What does she look like now? Is that like a high enough on the Google search trends that someone decides to make some fake news out of it?
I don't think it matters as much who is in the before.
So it's like there are hundreds of these going around, and the after picture, the grown up picture on the right, is just the same for all of them. But on the left side, it's like, oh, it's this girl from Home Alone. Oh, it's the lifeguard from The Sandlot. Oh, there's Alex Mack.
They might use the original image to generate the future one, so that there's some semblance of similarity. So it might not be the same one after, but the same type. They're just churning these out. So I'll click on something and maybe buy a fake iPad or something. Well, with clicks come dollars sometimes, but also cookies and tracking. So one click is enough. And now my laptop is mining Ethereum for some weirdo in Bangladesh right now, because he knew I'd fall for a "Where is Brooke McAllister now" article. There is something to that, because you can do some mining in the browser. So if you kept that open, it's a strange world. Yeah. But I still don't know what she looks like now. Yeah, it seems like she's sort of gotten out of the movie game. She's not really in the public spotlight anymore. What an interesting contrast for these two characters. We have a brother and a sister, and one actor. We have no idea where she is. We, without some prep, might not immediately remember her name. And if an AI-generated photo shows up next to her, we feel like, yeah, that might be her now. Whereas Fuller, sweet Fuller, just won an Emmy. We know where he is now. No AI image necessary. He'll come right up. Yeah, in fact, if you put an AI image next to him and said, this is where he is now, you'd be, on average, most folks of our age would say, yeah, that's not him. Sure. Or worst case, that's not what he looked like in Succession.
I still haven't seen Succession.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah?
Let this be, for you and anyone listening, Succession is worth it. And I say that as a person who started it twice. Maybe I was in a bad place the first time. I'm not sure. But
So you're saying start it at least twice.
right.
Okay.
Maybe once.
Okay.
I think once would have gotten me if it was timed right. I really don't know what happened the first time. I think it might be because I didn't have this kind of strong recommendation.
No one on a podcast told you to stop everything and go watch Succession.
Right.
But our listeners have been granted a gift.
They will be better after they watch it.
Ooh, an improved version of yourself. What more could you ask for? A richer life is promised. It awaits you. Click on this link now. See where Kieran Culkin is. He's on Succession. Yeah, Joe Pesci gets nothing out of these kids, right? And really, and this is maybe the first hint that we get that maybe this is not a good guy, because he seems really pressing on them to find out where they're going. He's still in a police uniform. Still, I think probably upon your first viewing, maybe you still trust him. But, and here's something I think about pretty often is that the previews for this movie would have been out, right? And the people watching the movie will have already seen that Joe Pesci's in it. Joe Pesci plays a bad guy in it. And here's Joe Pesci at the beginning wearing a police officer's uniform. How much consideration does like John Hughes or Chris Columbus or anybody give to the idea that just about everybody watching this knows that this guy is not a good guy already?
If I do my best to go back, not only in time, but try to put myself in their shoes, I don't think they're thinking much about that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. But it's a reality of movie going, right?
I think it's something that people think about today a lot. I think folks are far more meticulous and far more calculated in their decisions. And we could say that's good, bad, watered things down, whatever. But the truth is, metrics and the tyranny thereof has been applied to film.
I might have to title this episode The Tyranny of Metrics, but okay. Or at least our next band.
It's real.
A lot of that maybe might come from your line of work, maybe.
Possibly. We just love measuring things. And well, because I when I think about film today, I just think about the fact that there are a lot of streaming platforms and everyone's looking at, okay, when does this fall off? And people go to the third episode and stop watching and then come back to it. And what does that mean? And that's a whole other podcast as well. But I don't think they were thinking about that. But this also lends credence to my belief and something I say quite often, which is everything is a spoiler.
How so? Say more.
There are some trailers that are pretty bad at giving away, some of the best plot points or twists or turns or whatever. But you could argue that anything is a spoiler. And this is great evidence for that, because if you watch this film raw, you go straight into it based on, let's say, a podcast recommendation. You've never seen a trailer. You just watch it from minute 0 on through. This whole plot point is not spoiled for you.
So would that person, do you think, if we can sort of erase our prior knowledge, would a person watching Home Alone for the first time fresh, no knowledge of it whatsoever, do you think that they would pick up that Joe Pesci's a bad guy in this moment or later?
I think that they're picking up now that he's maybe not a bad guy, but he is curmudgeonly, cantankerous. Like, he's not serving and protecting.
But maybe he's still a cop. But he's
Right.
yeah. I mean, he's losing some patience with these kids, right? Where you going, kid? He's cracking a little bit, and he's been putting up a good fight up until now. He's had a duffel bag thrown at him already, and he didn't blow his top.
Well, if we're allowed to bleed further into the film, we see many a police officer in this film that does not have a great disposition.
Joe Pesci's a better cop than that cop that shows up later to knock on Kevin's door.
Tell him to count the kids again.
And that's it. We'll get to it, but man, what? There's nobody in this movie worse at his job than that guy.
He would have dramatically changed the direction of the film.
He could have ended the movie if he just knocked one more time. Maybe called out, "Police, one of the good guys, anybody home?"
It was a no-knock raid.
All cops are bumbling idiots.
No, like if he had done what a person who starts with the assumption that it's true, right? Like any person who starts with the assumption that, yes, there is a child at home alone, what would happen if he just hears a knock at the door?
We're getting ahead of ourselves. That cop's a bad cop. Joe Pesci's he's a burglar, and he's a better cop than that cop.
So, like I say, if I'm a viewer, I see that he's a cop and maybe a grumpy one, but I don't think he's a bad guy yet.
Okay. Is it the creepy, like, shiny tooth smile he gives Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where Kevin's the only one smart enough to recognize that this guy's not all above board.
Yeah. At this point, he's more just frustrated. He's just Costello.
Yeah.
But that monotony is broken up by the pizza dude, who is so oblivious that he asks for pizza payment from the cop.
What else is he supposed to do?
I'll argue against myself here. This cop also just opened the door of somebody else's home.
He does. He grabs the door. He's been there so long. He's so comfortable in this house that he's going to answer the door. But he's walked in too.
I want to know who let him in.
I don't know if anyone let him in.
You think he just walked in their front door?
After maybe knocking on the door a few times and not getting an answer, yeah.
And kind of recognizing that there might be some chaos. Maybe just opening at a crack, be like, "Hello, police, anybody?
Yeah.
Hello?"
Yeah.
And just like slowly edging his way in.
That's how I see it. But yeah, you're right. Maybe one of the kids let him in and then just ran away.
Or were mute.
Like we're seeing now.
Yeah, so he's billed with the pizzas, and it's a great turning of the tables because now is his opportunity to say, "I don't live here."
Not me, kid.
He's talked to so many kids, adults, none of them live there. And now it's his turn. He can say, "I don't live here."
Yeah, I think he kind of enjoys it. Which the pizza boy has a nice line, like right after that, like, "Oh, you're just in town for the holidays." And that's where our minute ends. Right there. So we don't hear Joe Pesci's answer yet.
There's so much in that line because is the pizza dude saying, "I don't live in this house and I also don't live in this city." Like there are just so many possibilities for what he thinks in order to respond.
I would argue it's a dumb line. He's dressed as a police officer.
But that's what makes it so funny.
Not me, kid. I don't live here. Yeah. It's in town for the holidays or something. No, I'm a cop.
But that's what's so funny because, again, it's kind of playing on what's just happened to him, right? All of these other kids and parents who've said, "I don't live here," their reason is they're in town for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And then when he forwards that message on, the pizza dude understands a concept that he had trouble wrapping his head around.
But it's dumb of the pizza boy to think that a uniformed officer would be visiting from out of town.
That's why it's funny multiple ways, because it's not only him being sort of wise and picking up on the concept that much faster, but attributing it to a police officer who clearly is not part of this household.
Yeah, it's not delivered in like a I'm that dumb kind of way.
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think so. No, the pizza boy strikes you as like a dumb guy to you.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah, he definitely strikes me as that stereotypical character, especially from that era of the
like a stoner dumb pizza guy kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
the burnout.
Yeah, I just don't get that from him.
The I'll have to ask my manager guy.
Yeah. He doesn't say or dude or anything like that. He seems pretty together. What movie did you watch?
Home Alone 2?
That was Rob Schneider.
Do you think the pizza dude would count his tips in public?
He does, right? He says, nice tip. Thanks a lot.
Nice tip. Well, he doesn't yet.
No, he has to. Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Apologies.
But no, you said it. Like, his last line is...
You in town for the holidays or something.
Yeah.
That's where we are. That's where we end. What have we learned?
We end on a dumb line.
What have we learned, Jerod? That nobody wants to work anymore. The America was better when pizza boys had jackets. And if we could all take a lesson from Fuller and Brooke here and just never talk to the police.
Lesson learned.
Just stare at them.
Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police.
Joe Pesci does do that little, like he tries to jump scare him. He goes, bah! When the doorbell rings, right? He like
it's his last act before turning around to get the door.
Yeah. He tries to spook him, and it doesn't work.
Because he just wants something, just any reaction.
It doesn't bode well for a guy who's about to take on an 8-year-old later on in the movie, that he can't even rustle up a blink out of these two. So
is it foreshadowing?
I don't know if that's foreshadowing. No, it's not.
Foiled by a child.
It is funny though. It is funny. Yes. Blah!
So are you inspired to have a jockey statue in front of your home?
I have 2 on the way to each of our houses.
For some reason, when I heard you say that, I heard you say it in the way that people talk about being pregnant. Like, oh, 1 on the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I was like, 2 on the way?
You've got 2 on the way. I've got 2 on the way. They're $61.25 a piece, though. So when they show up,
2 statues times $61.25
plus tip.